Township of Powhatan regular monthly meeting, Tuesday, May 20th, 2025. Go.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Adequate notice has been given to the Express Times and the Star Gazette satisfying the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act. We can all take a moment of silence and flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Kevin, to look them over, or? Did everybody else get a chance to review the minutes from the March 18th meeting? And then it looks like April 15th meeting. Does anybody have any amendments they'd like to make? Ingrid? Yep. Don? Good. I'll give you a second there, Councilman Nolan.
They're long.
Nelson, you good with the minutes?
Yes, I looked them over and they look fine.
Okay.
Both of
All right, I have a
them?
motion, is there a second?
Second.
Elsner seconded.
Okay, Gray,
Yes.
Lizzetti,
Yes.
Melvin,
Give me 1 minute. Go to, keep going. Come on.
Stillo,
Yes.
Slack,
Yes.
Yes.
okay.
All right, does anybody have any public comments pertaining to agenda?
What about the
items?
bills, Mayor?
Pardon me?
The bills?
Oh, I'm skipping.
We're not paying bills this month.
Yeah, we're skipping bills this
We're
month.
getting a holiday.
Yeah, my apologies. Motion to pay bills, payment of bills presented in proper form signed by the director of each department and approved by the majority of the members and listed on the bill list. Does anybody have any questions for the bills?
No questions. So moved, put forward Melvin.
Why don't I second that?
Okay, Gray,
Yes.
Lizzetti,
Yes.
Melvin,
Yes.
Stillo,
Yes.
Slack.
Yes. All right, public comment. Does anybody have any, comments they'd like to make pertaining to agenda items and agenda items only? If so, please come forward and be recognized. Seeing none, I'm gonna shift things around a little bit. We have some business we need to take care of in executive session. I'm gonna call a brief executive session and action will be taken afterwards.
Okay, who would like to make that motion?
I would.
I will gladly second Councilwoman Gray's motion.
Okay, Gray,
Yes.
Lizzetti,
Yes.
Melvin,
Yes.
Stillo,
Yes.
Slack.
Yes. We'll all get down to that.
Okay, we're back.
All right, I'd like a motion to come out of executive session.
So moved.
Second Melvin.
All in favor?
Aye.
We had a discussion with executive with respect to advertised interviews for the position of part-time business administrator. The interviews were discussed by the council and executive. At this point, I think we're ready to take action if someone wants to make a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to offer the part-time business administrator position to Scott Robb, effective 21st of May 2025, and pending his acceptance of the offer letter. I'll second.
Okay, Gray,
Yes.
Lizzetti,
Yes.
Melvin,
Yes.
Stillo,
Yes.
Slack.
Yes. You're hired.
Congratulations.
I don't know if that's good or bad.
He didn't accept yet.
Yeah. That was in the details.
Yeah.
All right, moving on, attorney's report.
Mayor, most of my stuff is on the agenda, but I just did want to let you guys know as a council, Dave, I think you were copied, but the issue with respect to the connection fees for the warehouse in Alpha has been addressed. They finally got the information to Wayne. Wayne did the calculation, circulated a letter with the numbers, and, they agreed to that. We'll be getting a check for 50% of it. I forget the overall number, Wayne.
It was like 54,000.
54-ish, yeah, something like that, because there's a connection fee, and then Wayne always, of late, on that particular line, because we're going to be doing some improvements, there's a pro rata contribution for future upgrades to the line. So that's good news. I'm expecting the first check to come in imminently. And when we do, I'll make sure I email you and let you know what it's for and all that. But it's a connection fee, and it can go right into the sewage too. We did have a discussion, last meeting with respect to our recycling yard. And so I did actually, there's a resident that's interested potentially in acquiring a lot that we own. So again, Dave, I copied you with this, or that just came up yesterday or today. So I've asked Jen to get me a list of property owners that are contiguous to that lot. Because it's an undersized lot, I believe, I think we could offer but we haven't offered that.
Everybody, right?
Also, though, I asked Jen to take a look at everything we own, including everything I foreclosed, everything we own, for two purposes. One, to see if there's any other properties we should offer to contiguous property owners, or are there any others we should auction? And third, is there anything that looks like it would be in a location that would at least have a size-wise, which might want to move the yard to?
Yeah.
So I did follow up on that, we'll get going on that. I talked to Jeff Long, Ingerman, they did get all that financing that straightened out in Trenton. So that project will be moving along. I don't know if you saw it, but Wayne did send us, I think Mary signed it already, the application for the, what was that, I guess the wastewater
That's their DEP application.
DEP application. So that project's moving along. The larger warehouse up here, has that litigation settled. I don't know when they expect to move forward, I'm not sure. But I also do expect the Hughes to, get moving shortly, because their pilot is gonna be on the other side. So I'm hoping that'll be another significant, huge impact fee, in affordable housing.
The brief conversation I had with the ones at the Germana Farm, that, Greece, the one gentleman I talked to said they had spring of 2026. They had nothing slated for this year yet.
And beyond that, Mayor, I don't think we have, Jen, Jen resolved a few
Just say no tax appeals or
municipal tax
whatever.
appeals have been resolved at the local level, and I don't think we have any at the tax court either, so we've been doing well there, despite the fact that, we are having a ratio issue, and one of the things that we'll be addressing down the road, as Scott's mentioned this before, and he'll be back on his plate, I guess, but at some point we will have to start getting the reval done. Wayne, I know you're already working on digitizing the tax maps.
Yep.
Which is the first step, so.
How about Mark Peck and the blue tarp on the old building at the main farm?
We would follow up on that. I would follow up on that, yeah. That's it, Dave.
There's one thing, Kevin, I got an inquiry from somebody that's gonna do some remodel work up at the old bank that's on the old Walmart Plaza.
Yeah.
And
Unity
they-
Bank building?
Yeah, the old Unity, and they want to use a third-party inspection company now, not DCA. And I guess DCA recognizes that this is legitimate now, right? Wayne, that's what you and I talked about?
Correct. I believe they had a new law last year that,
Do we need to take any formal action, Wayne, or just say, address the individual and say, yeah, we're okay with it, or?
Well, it's really not even our jurisdiction, so it's whatever DCA is okay with.
it sounded like they sent it to us though for our.
Oh, really?
I mean,
Yeah.
it sounded like that.
I mean,
So-
listen, I got, everything I've heard, Wayne, you probably hear it more often, but, when we first moved to DCA, they had, a handful or more of municipalities. Now, everybody's been giving up their jurisdiction to them, but yet their staff isn't growing. I know they go all the way up into Sussex County, this office right
This
here.
office out of
Right
Johnson.
here. So I would say for the benefit of, our both our commercial taxpayers and our residents. They can go to a third party and get their inspections done more efficiently than the.
Is there an action the governing body has to take, or we,
motion was.
I was gonna say, add it to, we'll add it to the motions, Wanda.
is it gonna be for this particular one, or should we?
Yeah, we'll do it case by case.
Case by case?
Right, let's do it.
All right, that was the only question I had for you, Kevin. Anything else?
No, they're not fairly quiet.
Wayne?
Okay, so we've talked a couple times about the 2024 local aid grant for guide rail. But, recently, I guess it's come to an issue on Still Valley Road, which was not part of our grant, but it's an area of concern. So, I think something to consider is if you would want us to apply to the DOT to relocate a portion of that funding from one of the other streets to Still Valley, then we can basically do it as a $0 change order with them and just get their permission. And then we can make that the focus of that grant, rather than wait a year and ask for it again. So I was just, if that's something you want to do, I would just request council to, give me some kind of a motion to go to DOT on that.
Can you dumb that down for me then?
So,
I mean, are we robbing Peter to pay Paul? Are we taking away from?
no, I mean, we picked 3 roads, we asked for a bunch of money, they gave us a small fraction of that money, we can't do it all anyway. So my plan was, and one of the items on tonight is to ask for another grant for guide rail.
Right.
So it's just a question of when we can do it. So, we're only gonna get a fraction of what we asked for again. So, my opinion would be, you might as well ask for the change, move, if Still Valley is a more pressing concern, ask them to shift, $30,000 of the $80,000 there, get it done this year, and then whatever we get next year, just put it in one of the locations we already had budgeted.
Okay.
This is on the S turn, Kevin, on between municipal and 639. There's a house there that's got some issues with cars trying to drive off the road into his front yard. 3 times it's happened within the last, 6 months, Wayne?
Yeah, they're doing their best to get in there.
Yeah, we put up the arrows, the reflective arrows, but people just go too fast and can't negotiate it. And like I said, I want to say it was maybe 6 weeks ago, maybe not even 6 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Somebody, did make it and just about ended up in its living room. You guys went out, right, Brian?
Yes.
Somebody took pictures and all documented it?
Yes.
It was a Saturday
Saturday
night?
night, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'll make that motion or make that to add it as a motion.
Okay,
Somebody want to second it?
well, let's wait till we do the
So
motions.
when we get to the motions, that's fine.
All right, so Pershing Avenue, that project is basically complete. We just got to do a final inspection. I went by in a pretty heavy rainstorm. It's working quite well, but if you go there, you think like, oh my gosh, it's terrible. But it's only because what we've done is actually working so well that it looks really bad when you see what's across the street. And I think, it's another thing we should probably consider as a small project if we can, put a couple more inlets in. We were out of grant money, just couldn't do anymore. But if you could get a couple more inlets on that side of the street, you would really get rid of a lot of water that's coming down the road. The side we fixed, there's nothing on it anymore. It looks great, but the other side, it's like a river going down there in a storm.
Can we apply next time there's,
I mean, we could apply for that instead of guide rail for next year if you wanted to, but, I think some of the guide rail, has been deferred. It's, and then you're probably looking at only like a $40,000 project at some point in time. So we could either apply for the guide rail and request a change, if we get enough done now. But, it's really just preference. I mean, nothing's any worse than it was yesterday. I was pleased to see how much.
I will keep that in your back of your mind to
Yeah.
put that one on for future.
Sure. A lot of the other ones are just repetitive, so I'll kind of skip over all that. Vangelli Park, we're still sitting pretty close to the finish line, waiting for, basically painting. And I understand that, it's finally warm enough that they could probably start doing that work, so we got to pin down a date for the contractor.
They
to
were out there
wrap that up.
working yesterday or Friday, one of the days. They still
Yep,
out there.
they're getting close.
Of course, it's gonna be 50 again tomorrow.
Yep. Yeah, but it'd be nice to, that's kind of last thing we're waiting for before you can do your full grant, application back to them. Because he hasn't crossed a high enough number to request the full grant amount yet. So we need him to send us another bill that gets him over that amount before he can request reimbursement. But it should be soon.
So you mentioned painting, you're talking about the pickleball courts.
That and the basketball court. He was doing crack sealing and.
Because I didn't see the basketball courts looked kind of crappy when I was out there a couple of weeks ago.
Because he hasn't,
Yeah,
last time I looked, he hadn't done the
Yeah,
crack
it looked
sealing.
untouched.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Larkin received their 4th TCO, so all of those buildings are now able to be occupied. We're doing a final punch list with them still. They submitted their as-built, so we're reviewing that to make sure it's compliant. An area that we seem to be in disagreement over at the moment is any repairs to Falmer. They cut that up to put their sewer line in, and then they cut it up again when they had to fix the sewer line they put in. We contend that they need to do some more repairs to the street. They don't seem interested in doing that. They can't produce any photographs to show me that the damage wasn't caused by them. So they want to have us meet out there with Jeff and talk about a solution, but, they seem like they want to seal coat it, but in my opinion, that's not solving the cracks that we got. So I gotta see where we go with that.
Do we have a performance bond of sorts, or,
I think we had a developer agreement with them.
Who's the developer?
Yeah.
so,
Also, that means they owe us the last installment of, they owe us another installment of the community impact fee of that 4th building TCO then. Guess I'll let Jen know that, okay? I know she's been following that.
But that was really the only other point of contention. I mean, overall, they did a pretty nice project. I haven't had any other complaints with them, but, we do want to try to resolve that because there were some residents that were concerned about that.
I know that you just said that the 4th TCO was just granted. Any idea on how occupancy is going there?
They were doing pretty well in the first 2. I hadn't got an update after that, to see where they were at. I don't think the 4th one has been occupied or anything yet. They just wanted to get it in advance of,
Was the 4th one the big boy?
yeah, it was the one in the back.
That's the main building.
Yeah, yep. The River Road Railroad crossing improvements supposedly are scheduled for July 14th. So that's when they'll be, the week, that they'll be hopefully, taking care of that.
Do you have their traffic plan? How is
The
that?
new one? No, I don't.
Do we know how long?
I do not. No, we have no control, we have no contact. It's not even the railroad's ability either. It's coming from another.
They're gonna
engineering firm from
be
the
doing
state.
this crossing improvement. Don't they have to contact our police and say?
Yeah, oh yeah, they're gonna have to do some sort of detouring. I mean, the one advantage of the summer is now they don't have to worry about detouring buses. But yeah, they're still gonna have to shut that down for a period of time.
Period of time, meaning?
I would think a few days. Yeah, I mean, they'll probably have it open after hours and things like that, but during the middle of the day, they're gonna be shutting it
And when will we
periodically.
get this information?
Great question, I don't know. I mean, we're at the mercy of the DOT.
Is this the same one it's right near not Boots, Bear Aggregates
Yes,
there?
yep,
So those plans we had long ago
for what they're doing, then they
No,
had.
for the road deep closures. I specifically.
There
spoke
was
to-
a road closure that was done, and, yeah, you'd have to check your files, but I was told last time that they studied the wrong crossing. So they had the consultant do the wrong thing, and then they were supposed to do it over again, and I haven't seen the update.
Right, because the first one came in that it was gonna be the one at Bear Aggregates, where when
And they
I
were-
talked to them, I told them it needed to be the one where we have all
Where
the
we had the
issues.
accidents, yes, yeah.
And then the DOT guy got back to me and said, no, sorry, we're starting with this one, that one's next.
That's not what Keene indicated to me.
Right,
Which
that
one is
was the
getting-
last correspondence I had with them when they originally, talked to us.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's different than, Keene told me it was the wrong one. They were trying to do the one with the accidents, and then they gave him that,
Right,
so,
and the
yeah.
young kid I talked to from DOT, he just said, look, I'm just doing what I'm doing.
Yep.
Mhm.
So they're focusing on the wrong thing, but, yeah.
Are we talking about the accident one for the 14th?
Apparently not. Apparently they're gonna still continue with the other one, so.
And just for everyone's get on the same page, because we're all having sidebars here. The one with the accidents is the one by the Hatch Ridge, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir,
Make
yeah.
sure.
Yep.
And that one is not in this,
It's planned, but apparently that's not the one they're doing first. Yep.
Well, it sounded to me like when this came about, of the accident intersection there, then they reevaluated all of the intersections of the crossings and decided that they're going to do multiple projects. That's the way the kid told me when I talked to him a few times on the phone.
Okay. I'll check with them again and see what the
Yeah.
status is, because we haven't received anything in 3 months, at least. As Kevin already mentioned, we came to an agreement with Alpha on the warehouse they have under construction, for their payment. I'm sure many of you know about the drainage issues that have been out there recently. The issue that they have right now is it's because of, their soil erosion plan. So during construction, they have to operate their basin differently than they will when it's complete. When you look at, it's a compliant plan, but it's not a functional plan because the basin's only holding a quarter of the water it's supposed to be holding. So every time you get a rainfall that's not even that bad, it's blowing out at the street out of a 10-inch pipe instead of like a 2 or 4, which is what it's ultimately supposed to be operating at. So I met out with them last week. Not a lot of, solid solutions were presented, but what they're doing in the interim is they're raising up that outlet a foot or two, I think 2, so that all these smaller storms which are outflowing will no longer outflow. It'll be held in the basins as it's supposed to when it's done. So that should cut down on the frequency of this problem. They still have to, by soil conservation standards, keep this larger pipe operating, which is the problem. But once they get the site stable, they can remove that entire thing, and then they go down to that smaller orifice to discharge more water. The engineer for the borough is also trying to push them to change the angle of it, because for whatever reason, the borough decided to let them do a discharge in the right-of-way, which is something we would never do, but, and on top of that, they point it like perpendicular to the road, so it literally just, when it blows out, it's just coming across the street. So they're gonna try to have them change the angle of it so it goes down the road rather than into the center, and, that should keep it from flowing into the street. I'm not necessarily convinced that that's gonna, resolve the very large storms that come through, because there's no drainage on that street whatsoever. And when I drove down it the other day during the flooding, yes, it was absolutely flooding there, but there were probably also 2 other locations on the street that were, just regular properties that didn't even have drainage infrastructure that were flowing tons of water out into the roadway. So, there really is a shortage of, drainage over there that can keep that street dry. So, if we could ever get on the same page as Alpha, a smart future project, in my opinion, would be both applying for grants from the DOT to have them extend drainage on their side of the street, and at some point just switch it over to the other, so that we're both putting drainage in on that road to, get pipes under the ground that can convey this instead of doing it over the surface, because there's not even swales on the side of that street. There's nothing to take water down that road. But, I think realistically, we're a few years away from that. It's probably something that they should have gotten out of the developer, on their end to improve their street.
But your ultimate thinking, Wayne, is that this is an interim piece here, it's an interim issue, and that they're saying once the soil conservation is, they're gonna adapt it so that that shouldn't be an issue going forward?
I don't think it'll ever be as bad as it is right now, because nothing's functioning as it's ultimately gonna function, because it's all in a temporary nature. But is it gonna work? Is it never gonna flood? I don't know, because I don't like the idea of that thing pointing straight at the road. I think until
Point it straight
you,
up.
yeah,
Yeah.
make a feature out of it.
But if they're going down to a 2-inch from a 10-inch, isn't that gonna be like extra pressure? I mean, I know there's nothing on the backside, but even by gravity, I would think if it's already shooting straight out onto the road, and you go down to a 2-inch, it's gonna go.
But you'll be letting that water out starting at the start of the storm. So it'll be a slower bleed consistently, because right now what's happening is it's building up till there's feet of like head on it,
Yeah.
and then it's overflowing out of a much larger pipe. So if you get it flowing more consistently, then it's draining out. And then also there's 4 upstream basins which aren't functioning. So once those start functioning, it'll slow the rate that the water's getting into the last basin, and they're gonna have 3 additional feet of capacity, which should hold most larger storms. So it should, in theory, it should work, you know, at a much better consistent rate, but large storm, like 100-year storm, it's still gonna blow out of the basin, but, you know, their calculations show that it's less than what was there before. The only difference is before, it was all sheeting down, you know, a farm field,
Right.
and now it's concentrated in one specific.
And they haven't finished the parking lot there either.
No, that's why it's a muddy mess. I mean, they need to keep a sediment basin, but yeah, that site was a disaster the other day.
I mean, they're starting to put down the quarry process, like they're gonna start paving soon, but
Yeah.
nothing as of yet.
Yep. But, I mean, it's not the contractor. I think he's doing a good job, and he's doing exactly what he is on the plan. I think it's their you know, between their engineer and the borough, they should have done something a little different with their discharge.
They also planted Dutch elm trees right over the lines as well.
They grow like on the tree.
Yeah. something like that.
Just to let everyone know, Scheimer supposedly is going to be submitting another revision, he said on Thursday this week, at which point, if it's assuming that they've done everything they were asked, then we would take it back to the board to do another completeness review. So, you
Were they
know,
looking for any exemptions or not?
they're still looking for waivers, but we've already had a meeting. We told them the additional things that were requested by the board that they wanted, and they're getting those items together. So at this point, they've pretty much done them all. I'm waiting to see the last document.
Okay.
Which is what?
The overlap plan of the, you know, the additional drainage and, you know, topography and all that, you know, they've done the geotechnical study, they've done the soil testing. So, you know, they're getting there, but very slowly. EAI is scheduled, I believe, on June 30th, as that was deemed complete. So that proposal for the additional 40 or so units will be heard at that point. And that's pretty much it.
Anybody have any questions for Wayne? All right, thank you, Wayne. Moving on to council reports. We'll mix it up here. We'll start with you, Councilman Stillo.
All right, how about that? Look at that. Like it. There's 2 motions tonight. One of them is to authorize the agreement with the Polack Board of Education. I met with the board a couple weeks ago about getting access to their property, install water and electrical utilities to get to the backfields for any type of for snack stand or power for scoreboard. Also to electric for those areas as well. And there's an agreement that hopefully will pass tonight. Second one is with the Alpha. We have a great agreement with them at the Breakthrough Center. They did a presentation a month ago or so. And for our kids in the town, they can attend the summer youth program. It's 5 weeks. We held everything on Alpha's facilities for this year, and then we'll see how it goes. And in the future, we may be able to see what our numbers are. We take it upon ourselves, but we're able to, at a good cost, to be able to have a great thing this summer for our residents. I know a lot of them have been calling Polack School and asking if they are having it, and we're letting know that after this meeting, if it gets approved, that we will. I think it's a great thing for our residents. That's all I have.
John, if I could just amplify, Wayne, I don't know if I copied you with that agreement that the school board attorney drafted. I reviewed it, I approved it, it worked out pretty well, but it does contemplate you kind of laying that out informally with the board's engineer.
Where they want the line to go? Yep, absolutely. So once we're done, we'll create any kind of.
Yeah, once it's signed, I'll send you a copy, but we're gonna do it just the way you recommended. Informally
Install it.
install it, and
easement.
then we can find, yeah.
Yep.
But I'll get that to you, I figured we'd adopt it tonight.
Okay.
Okay.
Councilman Melvin?
Mayor, first for the Land Use Board, we had 3 items that were on the agenda at the last meeting. One was a historical lot line adjustment between 2 residents. Was an old approval, I think from like 20 years ago. Somehow the deeds never got updated at the county, so they just needed some information from us, just to sort of ratify those old approvals so that they could move forward with those deeds. The other one was for the property on South Main across from the Shimer Clears, right there, the one with the turret. So that's being, it was a resolution for a minor site plan with a D variance. And then there was a request for a 1-year extension for the Cube's approval. And the next meeting is June 10th. For the Phillipsburg Emergency Squad, I got the report this evening. For the month of April, there were 35 calls within Cohasset Township, which was roughly just under 10% of the total squad's April count. And for year-to-date, there's been 149 calls, which are making up roughly 7.7% of the squad's calls in the township. And for the court reports, we have for the Greenwich Court, there was 250 traffic charges added, 238 were disposed, 31 criminal charges, and 16 were disposed. For Cohat, 146 traffic charges, 129 disposed, 36 criminal, 19 disposed. And for Lopat, 118 cases, traffic, 99 disposed, 11 criminal charges, and 18 were disposed. With regard to the municipal treasury deposits, Greenwich, we had 9,854.70 for the month of April, giving them a year-to-date total of $35,205.92. Cohat, $4,159.82 for $23,251.75. And for Lopat Court, $4,373.77 for a total year-to-date of $25,530.49. The combined court for Greenwich and Cohat is just about 58.5K, and the 3-court total is running around almost 84K. And lastly, for the fire department, you'll see an ordinance this evening for first reading. We had spoken about this at a previous meeting. The mayor and myself, Captain Justin Jewell and Chief Tom Nigro had some conversations. Many towns have built in their ordinances to recover certain costs, so the ordinance is going to be amended to reflect that. So especially with the 22 corridor, we get a lot of traffic from out-of-towners. This would allow the fire department to recover through reimbursement from insurance companies some of the costs that we're paying for as a township. And it's been specifically carved out so that the residents aren't not impacted by this ordinance. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to discuss that later, but the first reading tonight, and then we'll have that up for second reading at our next meeting. And I believe that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Melvin. Councilwoman Gray?
Okay, from the health department, there were a few reports on unsatisfactory septics. I won't have to go through all that list. Stone Tavern had some food and sanitation concerns. They found various violations from an inspection, and it's going to be re-inspected. In Mount Joy Road, there is a house that had rodents and junk, and that was inspected, and there's supposed to be cleanup. Regarding Shimer School, I guess the health department was involved when they were removing asbestos from the building. They were putting materials in dumpsters outside. The NJDCA was informed of the work, and the supervisor on site was told that the asbestos material had to be handled as per regulations, and workers needed to be certified, and permits were pulled, and no asbestos material had been disturbed at that point. Teppanyaki Chinese Buffet had water damage from a sprinkler that went off, and they did an inspection, but no food was affected by the water, and they have a conditional satisfactory relating to that. On County Road 627, there was a complaint about rats in the house, and the complainant believes that they're coming from the old paper mill demolition. The exterminator was contacted and issue resolved. Regarding Walmart, there was mold in packaged rice. On Mellickswood Road, scrap metal and commercial stuffing yard was the complaint, and a violation notice was issued for cleanup. Re-inspection showed good progress. And a number of food establishments were inspected, and they all received satisfactory inspections, ranging from Aldi's all the way down to White Castle. They all passed. Regarding the scenic byway, they had a meeting this past Friday, but I was working and unable to attend, but when reading the unapproved minutes, they're mostly talking about ways to increase tourism along the route, whether it be through food passports, festivals, incorporating it with the bicentennial celebration, etc. So these are lots of discussions of things up in the air, nothing in cement there. They're meeting again in August. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Ingrid. Councilman Lozzetti?
DPW, period of April 15th through May 20th, checked all the township roads daily, continued to do that daily. Have checked the park garbage weekly, graded a section of roadway on River Road to get the rainwater to go towards the catch basin that was just installed. Continuing roadside mowing of weeds with the changing season. Mowed off the shooting range for our police to qualify for shooting. Conducted yard maintenance. Brought a tub grinder in to chip brush before the cleanup dates. Yearly township of cleanup went well, it's reported. Cleaned and checked drainage throughout township numerous times after the rainfalls we've had. Picked up roadside garbage on Carpentersville Road and Delaware Heights Road. Cut up and chipped trees that came down across roadways on Pinchers Point Road and Ravine Road because of the storms. Opened up brush drop-off area for residents to access and use it. Groomed all township baseball and softball fields weekly for the rec department. Met with Jason Cooper from Duke's Root Control for spraying for roots in the sewer mains on numerous township roads in the Shimer Manor and Parkside, and 2 small annexes for our problem areas. Reported that this was done 5 years ago, and the warranty is up this June of 2025. Repaired police vehicle 75-15, replaced blower fuses and thermostat. Replaced batteries on police vehicle 75-18. Serviced police vehicles 75-1 and 75-17. Repaired, welded, cutter brackets back on the roadside mower head. That concludes the report. There's just a note added requesting just follow-up to make sure that the progress is still moving forward on purchasing the dump truck, so that Jeff can sit down with Colin from the truck company to place the order with his specs. Jeff has the latest quote for the dump truck, plow, and stainless spreader.
Nelson, in regards to the truck, after reviewing the financing route that Jeff was gonna use, they were gonna charge us like 28% or something ridiculous for the financing. So we need to go a different route with the finance, and I believe we're gonna reach out to one of the other vehicle groups that we use for financing and try to get a better rate. But at the rate they were gonna charge us, we would have been better off the bond for it. Ouch. So at this point, it is still moving forward. we just gotta find a different source for the money.
That seems high.
Yeah, no, I agree.
All right. Got it.
I just like to compliment the road department. When I brought over junk, it was like a ballet. It was just so great. Came in, had lots of workers there, everything was lifted off. You didn't have to get out of your car. It was so well run.
Yeah, I had a similar experience. It was very smooth.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
I know the years I've come, it's always gone smooth. It's always well managed.
Very good.
Seems to always be the crappiest weekend, though. It never fails, it always rains. All right, now for myself. First, I'm gonna start with the brush drop-off. I talked to Jeff this morning, was it this morning or yesterday morning? I don't know, I think it was yesterday morning. We've been getting an absorbent amount of material to our brush drop-off. And I'm gonna look into having a, rolling gate installed at the front out here to limit access to the brush drop-off. And we need to manage the hours better than just leaving it open all the time, unmanned, with nobody watching over it. So the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna start with the gate, and then we're gonna figure out what kind of hours we wanna set, so we can manage it a little bit better. I feel like I don't wanna say it's our residents, but we have no idea who's coming in on the weekends, dropping, dumping, whatever. And I feel like we're being taken advantage of, and our poor residents are gonna be the ones that's gonna end up suffering if we can't keep it open. So we gotta work on managing that a little bit better. Like I said, I think the first thing is gonna be a rolling gate out front that'll work off of a key fob or a credit card or something that whoever needs to get in after hours can swipe in and swipe out.
Where would that gate be though?
Right out front here.
And how about the police access?
You need to cover both sides.
Yeah.
We're gonna temporarily put Jersey barriers in the back probably, so whoever's gonna access the fuel tanks has to come from front, which I don't see that a problem. Do you, Brian?
For fuel?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, it's only gonna be locked after hours. It's
Yeah.
gonna be open during the day. We'll program it or somehow it's open during normal.
issue.
I just feel like on the weekends, and supposedly, the neighbor Vinny said that on the weekends, it's like a nonstop circus back there.
Well, people work and they need to go there on the weekends.
I understand that, Ingrid, but we're gonna have to set hours, and people are just gonna have to work
On the
around.
weekends.
Right,
Yeah, you will have weekend hours.
of some sort, Saturdays till noon or something, but we have to establish some kind of limits, because the way it is now, it's a free-for-all.
I understand that.
And every time we've gotta pay the tub grinder to come in, it's however many thousands of dollars. And I don't mind spending the money as long as our residents are the ones that are getting to use the dump. The way it is now, we don't even know if they're township residents coming in. Could be commercial, exactly. Like I said, without working cameras, we've got no way to keep an eye on. But I think with the gate as a start, and then, whatever enforcement we gotta do after that, we can go forward.
So here's a question. Let's say I hire a landscaper. He comes, trims my bushes, mows my lawn, he collects all that stuff. Does he have the opportunity to go take it? Because he's
We've had
doing it for
we've had
me.
that question before in the past from
Okay, what's the
people.
answer?
You're hiring him and paying him to do the work. I know how I would feel about it. I would say it's his responsibility to get rid of it because he's getting paid to do the work.
Depends on what's in this contract, though.
But yeah, that's a sticky one, because we've had that issue. People come in and said, this is from so-and-so at such and such, but, that's a sticky one. But I feel like we've got people that are doing work anywhere, just coming here because they know there's nobody here to watch it.
I think you're right, but I also, my other point,
And I guess at that point, if he's got a contract and shows, what he's done at so-and-so's house, then yeah, probably so.
Stick one of the cop cars out there with a plate reader.
Something, but like I said, the way it is now, Jeff said we just got inundated the last weekend or two with brush. And again, we've had storms, there's been a lot of damage, but I just want to keep it that it's for our residents and our residents only. And like I said, the way it is now, we have no control. That was the one thing. we talked about the guide rail on Still Valley, and Wayne says that we can't use the Jersey barriers, but we'll put it on, and as soon as we can get the guardrail in, we can get guardrail put in for that. Did you have a chance, Ryan, to go up and look at Pershing?
I did. It's Pershing and Sussex and Pershing and Passaic.
Okay, what's your assessment on stop signs?
They'll just make it like March Boulevard, the whole length of it, they stop at every intersection. It's only that section from St. James going towards New Brunswick for the first 2 blocks of Sussex to Passaic. It's the only spot that doesn't have stop signs. Everything else from there down does.
Is it gonna help the residents with slowing people down, you suppose?
I mean, I've gotten positive feedback from everybody else in reference to all the other stop signs about traffic and speed, so I would have to believe so, yeah.
Wayne, what do we have to
I don't know if
do?
we have any left from the last time they got them and installed them.
How many would we need, you think?
At least 2 for
Each.
each
Yeah,
side.
So it's probably 4 or 5 intersections there, minimum,
Yeah.
so 8, 10. I don't think there's any left, as Jeff said, what, they needed them somewhere else.
Well, there is
they
stop
did
signs
but-
on, it's just certain sections of Pershing. It's not going, there's stop signs the other ways,
Yeah, so there'll be 2, the alternating 2 every time we have an
for
intersection,
2
so.
intersections.
Oh, it's just 2? Then
Yeah.
you're looking at 4,
It's
yeah.
just Sussex and Passaic.
Okay, yeah, it's just
So
2.
4.
Yep,
4 stop signs. All right. What do we need to do,
We gotta
Wayne?
amend the vehicle and traffic ordinance to add,
Right.
right.
chief, just let me know which streets the stop signs are going. They're going on Pershing,
It's gonna be on Pershing.
on
correct.
Pershing,
At
both ways.
the
And
intersection
you'll
of
give me the
Sussex and
intersection.
Passaic. Yeah, I'll get it.
Okay.
Wayne, do we need
Was
to
that what it is,
make it as a
Sussex
formal
and Passaic?
motion, or can we just say we're gonna,
Well, this is pretty.
It's really up to Kevin, yeah.
all right.
So it's Pershing
On Pershing Avenue,
On
at the
Pershing, at
intersection of
Sussex.
Sussex and
and
Passaic.
Passaic.
Correct.
Can you introduce that tonight? I know ordinances take a couple months, right?
Well, they just take a public hearing. You can do it by title only if you want to add it.
Yeah, let's introduce it tonight by title only. You write the ordinance,
That's gonna be both ways, right, chief?
Correct. Yes.
and then we can move forward with it next month then. All right. Stop signs, oh, there was one other complaint, Andrew's dealing with, and I followed up with Tom Nigro at the Health Department. It has not gotten to him yet, but probably will. Somebody complained about a resident on Still Valley Road bringing in dirt, using it as fill, large amounts. Andrew went out and took pictures. I don't know whether Andrew's gonna cite him, whether there was enough disturbance to warrant giving it to the health department or soil conservation, but as I said, Andrew was out last week. And it's not dirt that's coming from around here, which kind of bothers me to a point, but like I
Don't we have a
said,
paper trail though with the soil importation ordinance?
they're supposed to, and that was what I had said. You know, you better get some bills of lading on this to prove where it's coming from, and they had nothing. So, I'll see what Andrew's gonna do with that, but it's in his hands at this point. Like I said, I reached out to Tom to see if Tom had gotten it yet, and he had not. But like I said, this was just Thursday this happened.
Where's it going to?
Still Valley Road, there's a resident there by the tunnel, and I want to kind of keep it not specific, but like I said, Andrew investigated it. It was an old quarry that they've been backfilling, and like I said, Andrew got a complaint, and he went out and looked. I don't know what the complaint was, Nelson, whether it was mud on the road, because the resident is off the road, and I assume it was mud on the road, and he went out to inspect it. Other than that, I think we touched on everything else. I got a lot of calls about the warehouse on Edge Road from concerned citizens, so hopefully we can keep after that. And I did reach out to soil conservation myself and talked to Sandy Myers. And just like Wayne had said, it's functioning as it was designed for now to retain as much soil sediment from the construction site until it gets done. All right, other than that, I think that's,
In reference to the brush dump, I think we should have some talks about that too, for like a large plan with it. Like a draw out plan, like see how, like a 5-year plan on it, to be able to see where we are budgeting wise with that. Because I do know if it was anything like last year's with the budget that was turned in, the brush dump money will cover all tub grinding for the year. There's enough in the funding to do that. So if there's not enough funding for other things right now because there was, it's a late request, then we should come up with a good plan for it for the future on that too.
well, we've had some issues potentially with the DEP and where it's located as well. And it may come to the fact that we may have to relocate or close down altogether. So it's all things we need to look at hard and long and decide what we want to do. I still think the rolling gate though, chief, either way, Scott, I'm sorry, you're no longer a chief, too many years as chief, but I think the rolling gate, just from a security, isn't a bad idea. And I don't think, I mean, the fence is all there, I just looked at it on the way in. I just think that it would be a good investment.
To the right of
Or-
DPW.
Correct.
Yeah, it is.
Like I said, it just, I can't imagine the way things cost nowadays, though, I'll be shocked. But like I said, I don't want it to be that you gotta get out and unlock a lock and swing gates or whatever, something just pull up, either key fob or
Like a
whatever.
mule kind of thing? Yeah.
Right, and just
What's the plan for the other side then?
Well, that's what they say for the.
Jersey
Jersey barriers
Barriers in the
in
back.
the back.
But what about the other side as well, going down the generator that has an access road?
Oh, in the middle here.
Yeah, right. I don't know.
Yeah, we'd have to just stop that, either block it one way or the other. I mean, do you think from an emergency standpoint, that's not a good idea, or?
I mean, the only other thing is the fire trucks also come down here and put fuel up. And, if we Jersey barrier that side and say the DPW has all kinds of things in the yard,
Hard to swing.
is it gonna be,
Yeah.
right, is it gonna be able to swing around?
Well, I mean, we're not gonna do this hastily, we'll take a look at everything and all our options. But I just think we need to do something to be able to secure that yard. I know it's a pain in the neck, but like I said, if people wouldn't abuse what we're doing, it wouldn't be an issue. But like I said, it's a problem.
Would they just drop everything in front of the fence anyhow?
God, that would take some guts, I would think, to dump it right in the municipal building parking lot, but,
Or somewhere along that road.
well, I already had that happen, somebody dumped carpet there where you guys go in and out to shoot.
Yeah.
And there was no, I looked through it to see if there was any names or nothing, but it
No
was.
bodies?
Yeah, no, I don't think there was any bodies in the car, but I don't know. Maybe we should have checked that, but, it's just people have no respect at all for other people's property, it really stinks. No, we'll take a look at that, Scott, but like I said, we need to do something, and maybe we'll have to modify it or, change our thinking, but we need to do something. All right, any other things we need to discuss as council? If not, we have budget discussions. We have all our professionals here tonight. Ann, you have a budget for us?
I do have a budget for you.
I will turn the table over to you.
Well, the good news is that, it looks like it's going up 2.86%. Or on the average home, it's $82 a year, or $6.83 a month. Basically, the only reason why it is going up is because the assessed value of the town went down, and that's based on tax appeals, things like that. But with all the add-ons and the new construction, that'll start to peak back up. Plus the fact we talked about looking at doing another revow, which has to happen. We started with the tax maps, I think, Wayne, and I think we're moving on that.
Still in
right?
process, yep.
Yeah, so that's, all has to be updated. But otherwise, there's really not too much. We did put in a sewer ordinance for tonight to be introduced. That's going to be in the budget as well. Of 1.4 million. That'll be funded in many different ways. We're looking at grants, we're looking at the connection fees, and, but it just gets lanes started basically on the design for the I-9. So that's a good thing, yeah. So, there's really not much. I mean, we're in pretty good shape, I think, and we're moving right along. We're excited that we're introducing now. We should have everything done in time to not have to worry about estimated bills, depending on when we get the, we're gonna June 17th, we'll adopt the budget, and we'll have the hearing.
What did you say it was per house you?
It's, $82 a year.
82, thank you.
On the average house.
Yes.
Anybody have any questions for Ann on the budget?
Thank you.
All right. One, do we have a motion to introduce that, or that's a resolution?
That goes into the resolution, so if you'd like to address the proclamation and then
Okay.
follow, because we have to adopt a self-examination of the budget and then introduce it. So that's all the resolutions.
Oh, I
You
see.
can take them on one, so just make sure they're in order.
Okay.
So that means we adopted the self-examination report.
Right, that's all. All right, so we'll move on to our proclamation. Our proclamation is designating May as Older Americans Month. Do we have a proclamation, Wanda, or not?
Oh, I emailed it to everyone.
You want it?
Is this really
Uh,
necessary?
Absolutely. I'm working into that Older Americans. I don't mind that. No, that's okay. We'll pass on that.
hate being reminded.
But we're recognizing all our older Americans and all they've contributed to the society over the years. How's that? There's a lot of wisdom in the old people. That's things kids don't realize
I hate being
nowadays.
reminded.
Oh, come on, grow old gracefully, come on.
Too late.
Too late. All right, resolutions, we have, it looks like,
Wait, nobody approved the proclamation. Can I have a motion on that?
somebody like to.
I will make the motion to approve May as the Older Americans Month.
Thank you.
I will second it.
Okay, Gray,
Okay.
Lizzetti,
Yes.
Melvin,
Absolutely.
Dillo,
Yes.
and Slack.
Yes. All right, resolutions, we have 4, 6.
Yeah, Mayor, the second one, we're going to include the salary for the clerk's assistant and the business administrator in
Correct.
that one now.
So the motion to, everyone wants to take them together, the motion to adopt these resolutions in order. As one indicated, self-exam should be introduced or adopted before their introduction. So the motion to adopt these resolutions 1 through 6 in their order as depicted on the agenda, with the amendment to the, number 2, to include the, salary range, I guess, for the business administrator, right, Wanda?
It's the actual salary there, so.
Which one's the 6, Kevin? I'm only counting.
There's only 5.
One at the top of the second page.
Right,
That's
there-
fine.
that's 5.
I'm sorry, I can't count, okay, so.
All right, I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything.
I'll move that forward to.
I'll second that.
In order. Hold on.
One sec. Can we get some clarification on the motion to, for the mayor to execute the grant for the SADC?
Oh, we didn't do motions yet.
Let me get the motion.
No, that's in the resolution, I'm sorry, isn't it?
No.
No, that's a DOT grant.
Oh, wrong page, sorry. When we get there, can we get some, just for the auditor and the budget?
Sure. Okay, I'm gonna call the roll. Gray,
Yes.
Lizzetti,
Yes.
Melvin,
Yes.
Stillo,
Yes.
Slack.
Yes. Okay, ordinances for first reading. We have 4 ordinances for introduction tonight.
We're gonna have 5.
5.
We're gonna have, Mayor, the last one will be ordinance 2507, that'll be an ordinance to amend the vehicles and traffic ordinance to make the intersections of Pershing and Sussex and Pershing and Revere, Passaic, I'm sorry, as 4-way stops, correct?
Correct. Yes, sir.
That'll be the, extra ordinance.
4-way or 2-way?
4-way.
They're already.
This
They're
way.
already going this
So we'll
way.
make them in 4-way, so
Yeah,
that's,
they'll be four-way.
it was Sussex, what now?
Passaic.
Passaic.
That would be the other one.
Now, I would ask,
I can,
well,
I can
no,
introduce them all, and then we can discuss briefly if you want.
yeah, I guess introduce
It's just
them.
first reading.
Yeah, it's just first reading, so we're not really voting on them tonight.
No.
All right,
There is a motion on the table from Mr. Stillo. So moved. I'll second it.
After the second, as far as, just so you guys know, the first one, that one has been back and forth with, and we discussed that, I believe, last month. We actually, you authorized, we did a motion, we did an ordinance by title only to extend the B2 down to 22, but then afterwards, in further discussion with our planner, I don't think we have a B2 zone anymore. And really what we want to do is revise those, we're talking about where the bagel shop is, the fudge shop, the former Mandy Law Office, Mayor Slack's brothers, former appliance building, and there might be one more too. And that little area, for some reason, even though all fronts directly on 22 is zoned R4, when that whole strip should be B3. So that's all we're doing here is moving those specific lot and blocks from the R4 to the B3 by virtue of slightly moving the B3 boundary. That will require, by the way, everybody who's within 200 feet of where the boundary moves to, Jen's gonna get me those names and addresses, and I'll get specific names to the ordinance. But candidly, Jim, I think I know Wayne, you feel the same way. I don't know how it ever happened. I don't know how it ever wasn't on the business zone, because all those are right on the highway. So that's all we're doing there. The bond ordinance and touched upon, again, you can do whatever you want with that. That's just so you have a placeholder, you figure out how to fund that later. And I think that's about it. Oh, the fire department. Kevin mentioned the fire department. And I just wanted to be clear, we went back with that chief, I think we're in good shape with that. It's gonna allow the department to, with respect to non-residents, they can hard bill if they like, meaning they can chase down insurers if they don't recover everything, they could theoretically chase down, commercial truck or commercial company. With respect to our residents, it'll be soft billing only, we'll get a bill. If the insurance covers it, they cover it. If not, it's $10. So residents will not be hard billed. And we did include, kept the provision for the, if you want, to go to third-party administrator, the third-party administrator route if you want. And the last thing we did, Kevin, just to keep it simple, because for now, you just want to go with the FEMA rate schedule, we incorporate that right into the ordinance. So right now, I don't feel that we need to do a separate resolution. If down the road you want to further adjust rates, we can just do that on a case-by-case basis.
They may change rates, I don't know if FEMA changes.
Yeah.
Periodically.
So that's what that one's about, and that stuff's getting expensive, and this will help.
Yeah, what was the outcome on the collection for that? They have only,
Yeah, well, they have a third party that they can.
they're gonna go to the third party?
And the billing company takes right out of what the fines are, so there's no charge there.
Right, but, because my concern originally was that we didn't have anything to do with it.
No, it's all going to the
Township.
department.
Right, so it's
The
going
department
to you
side
guys, and you guys are dealing with it,
Yes.
and that's it?
That's it.
Okay.
all right, so these ordinances,
Motion in a second.
yeah, we had a motion and a second.
Okay, and then we'll schedule the second reading for the June 17th meeting. So, Gray?
Yes.
Lizzetti?
Yes.
Melvin?
Yes.
Stillo?
Yes.
Slack?
I'm gonna abstain, Wanda.
If you want, Mayor, you can just abstain on 2503.
We need the majority of the governing body on the bond ordinance.
Yeah, just abstain on 25.
All right, then,
That's your only conflict.
make note that I abstain on 2503, Wanda.
2503, okay. Okay, thank you.
All right, ordinances for second reading, we have none. Motions, we have several, and we're gonna add a motion for the, for Wayne to do the, no, that was already as a, was that as a resolution?
Yeah, we'll add that.
Okay, we're gonna add that as a motion for the guardrail on Still Valley.
The SADC thing, Scott, and what that is we have to update our farmland preservation plan to remain eligible for any of our farmers to get pig grants, basically, to preserve. And SADC will, the Highlands will pay us 50% of that.
Well-
So that 20 will cover the motion below it for the 15. So there's
Basic-
no money out of budget.
What it'll be, Barbara Davis gave us a quote agreement. The total cost is 15. SADC will pay 50%, so we will likely have half balance. And I sent a email to Mr. Humphreys at the Highlands Council. He said most likely it would get approved for them to cover the balance, but they can't put it on their agenda until July because they're a fiscal year
Is
thing.
there any money out of pocket prior?
No, none for
So
us.
then they'll hold off?
The project won't start till August 1st.
Yeah. Is Jim doing this? Jim Kyle's doing this, I think.
No, Barb Davis is
Oh,
doing
Barb,
it
That's right.
with the Land Conservancy. So the project won't start till August 1st when we know we have the money from the Highlands to do the other
Okay, yeah,
50%.
There's just nothing in the budget.
Right, no, so that would cover it.
And just as an FYI, I did actually have one of our residents that has a sizable chunk of land in Carpentersville reached out to me last week, and is interested in preserving. I spoke to him at length, and it's big enough that it's gonna go county direct, but I said whatever the township needed to do to help, we would do.
The other big thing on this, Mayor, Council, is SADC just recently changed their sharing formula. And Scott, this will be good too, from a budget standpoint for you guys. But if you recall before, the state would fund 60, county would generally contribute 20, we would do 20. SADC's now going up to 80, and presumably the county will be 10 and we'll be 10. So we'll be able to use less of our open space fund to preserve some of these larger farms, which will make, obviously, that fund go a lot further in the future. So that's a very good thing, which is another reason why I think we definitely want to stay out.
No, I agree.
And that's something that's in the works now?
That's past the state. That's
Yeah, that's.
No, I'm talking about the land to be preserved, that you just.
We haven't signed any paperwork yet, like they're in the preliminary stages, like it won't happen for well, when I talked to the county, they said it's probably two years at least.
And is there like an estimated cost?
To us, no. I mean, that's all, they gotta do the appraisals, the whole 9 yards. I mean, we won't have anything money-wise, I would think, for at least another year.
We would have to approve the cost share, Scott, down the road.
And-
We still will have.
I explicitly told the county we're broke, and the county said, we've got lots of money, so we'll see. This farm, they've had their eye on for a long time, so I'm sure if they want to do it, we'll figure out a way.
Just because I know that open space has already been talked about for
Other,
our parks and recs.
Right,
and
right, no,
other
I know.
things like
I
that.
know.
Right.
I'm thinking the county's gonna, but like I said, I was explicit when I spoke to the girl at the county and said, we're tapped out.
Do you need a motion for these 8 motions?
I do.
I make it.
I second it, Mr. Mullin.
Okay. Gray,
Yes.
Lizzetti,
Yes.
Melvin, Stillo,
Yes.
Slack.
Yes. All right, public comments. Any general public comments anybody'd like to make, please come forward. Sign in, be recognized.
I have an issue with the letter I received from the township. I don't know if it's supposed to be right now.
Yep.
I'm Chris Fastori from Moberly Road. I recently sent a letter to the township on February 11th about annulling the slope and easement, or the slope and drainage easement at the rear end of my property on Carpentersville Road. Then I received a letter back from the township attorney, Mr. Benbrook, that's filled with falsehoods. So I'm not sure who went out and looked at it. I know it says Lane, and Lane went out and looked at it, and made the, statement that the slope is stabilized, and, Mr. Bentbrook continues on and says, with that in mind, would you like the slope, if I want the slope easement vacated, that I have to get an attorney? That's not in the agreement anywhere, okay? I know there was discussions at the February meeting about this, that I wasn't aware was going to happen. And, 2 days later, this letter was sent to me. Nobody contacted me. I don't know who went out there, and I don't know if they knew what they were looking at or not, but the guardrail is clearly on my property. This letter emphatically by Mr. Bentbrook states that it's within the road right of way and the drainage easement. It is not. The end of it is 8 feet from where it's, well, where, I don't want to say where it was supposed to be, because there was never supposed to be a guardrail there. It was never done by design from 1991 on, or 1989 on. I resided there at the time. There was never supposed to be a guardrail. That's our road frontage to get to our property and the next door property as well. So I understand there's a guardrail there because there's an 8-foot ditch. That ditch should not be there. The description of the sloping easement rights is that everything is supposed to be subsurface. I know Mr. Bentbrook said at that February meeting that something wasn't clear. It's clear as day, they can be annulled. But see, the problem is, the slope rights aren't the problem. The problem is the ditch. And it was supposed to be subsurface from the get-go, from 1989. It was never done as it was supposed to be done. So, the 60 days is up. That's technically a no. You can't come back to me and say that I need an attorney. There's nowhere in that agreement that says that the property owner would have to hire an attorney. And you say it's poorly worded, maybe because the township, it's not worded good enough for the township. It should be a no. It technically is a no, because the contract says 60-day notice. It said Wayne went out there and inspected it. It said it was supported in this letter. That's the end of it. But the problem is, something has to be done there, because I'm supposed to be able to enjoy the property over top of that ditch. It's supposed to be graded from the slope rights to the roadway. So I'm not as concerned with the roadway, with the slope rights being annulled, as I am with it being done the way it was supposed to be done. I understand there's a drainage ditch there, and that should be plumbed right to the river. There's 8 identical other ones that are all done according to the description. Mine is not done according to the description in the slope rights agreement. So I'm just asking that it be addressed, and I did get a survey to put up my pasture fence, and the problem right now is I can't complete my pasture fence because it's an 8-foot ditch. And I'm supposed to be able to enjoy the property or the ground that covers the drainage easement. That was never covered. It was never done as described in the agreement itself. So,
That drainage easement, Mr. Vasselari, does that still carry water?
hardly at all. Like, I know Wayne said I go down there when it's like storming, the water doesn't get there.
So what's your end goal, or what would you like to have happen?
Well, what I would like to have happen is that it be plumbed. What I would do is plumb it, just tie it in from the culvert that goes under my driveway, which is the way it's described in the slope rights agreement and the drainage agreement. It's described that everything is to be subsurface. For some reason, they didn't do it that way. That was never an issue because the person I leased the property to had the land next door too, so it was never an issue. The issue now is that it was never done according to the description. And I'm gonna complete my pasture fence on my right to the property line. I have it staked out, I've had it staked out for weeks, I don't know if anybody ever went out there, nobody's been out there for 35 years, and nobody's worked on it for 35 years, because you can't even get to it without going on my property. So the guardrail is blocking, I mean, I have maps here, the guardrail is blocked, you can't get to the drainage easement or the slope easement without removing the guardrail, because you would have to go around the guardrail, which is on my property, to get to it. So it can't even be accessed by the township to do any work there, which there's not been anything. That was put in because there was 1,000 homes going there when we sold the property back in 1986.
That was before things were preserved and the other property got into the PRO or wherever it was.
Yeah, yeah, that's on the other end, it goes on the other end. But yeah, the SADC preserved everything, yeah, it was before that, yeah.
I have the agreement up that was provided with your cover letter, and I just disagree that it says that it has to be underground. I mean, the section, I'll read it, the section it says, but, and maybe there's another one you're referring to, so if I'm wrong, let me know. But it says, grantor does further grant to the township, its successors and or assigns, the right to construct and maintain a culvert, subsurface drains, head walls, and appurtenances as shown on the aforementioned map labeled drainage easement. Now, it references including things such as subsurface drains, but I don't think that that means that that's what it must be. And then when you go down to the picture of what it is, they literally show it as a swale with rock, of a large width. So I don't know that what that was intending to say is that everything must be underground. I think that might be referring to any pipes that connect to the culvert within the easement area. That's how I would interpret that.
Okay, then how about paragraph 2? Or 3, or 4, or 5?
Well, 2 talks about stabilization and topsoiling seed. 4 talks about granting the township rights to maintain.
Okay, how about 5?
Grantor, successor and assigned shall have the right to use, occupy, and enjoy the areas covered by the slope and drainage easement for any purpose which shall not, in the opinion of the township, interfere with the slope and drainage easements. So you can use it however you want, as long as it doesn't interfere with the easement and what's constructed. And it's our right to dictate what that is.
Yeah, I basically concur, obviously, with what you're saying. I think, I recall, I thought in your letter, as I recall, I thought you wanted us to take the guardrail down.
Yes, that's my main thing.
And the issue that I was raising, and again, I don't have it in front of me, but my recollection is pretty clear. There was a section of permanent easement, and there was a section that basically was needed to install things that could be annulled on 60 days notice. That's not where up by the road, that's all part of the permanent easement. So that's not anything you can annul or have the right to annul. And when I was indicating there was some unclarity, there's a part in the written easement that talks about annulment, then there's a part in the description. The description is explicit as to what you could annul. The annulment part is below where the primary drainage structure is up by the road. So listen, if you have an issue with that, you have to, again, that's up to you and your lawyer to challenge that opinion, or I guess, to be honest with you, if everybody agrees that it's no longer an easement that we need, and you're content.
Just like a paper street.
We could probably enter into an agreement to vacate the whole damn thing, so it clears up your title, and then.
Yeah, then fill it, that's fine.
Well, then that's up to you. We're not gonna do that, we'll do that.
Yeah,
At
as
least-
long as it's annulled, I'll take care of it. I mean, it's not, no water gets in there, it doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, if
It
it's
is
really.
water, it doesn't even make it to the pipe that goes to the river.
Are you content with that, Wayne, that there's really, we don't?
I'll just be honest, I didn't look at it from the perspective of do
Well, why
we
don't
or
we do
don't
that?
we need
Why don't
it.
we
But-
set a fight?
How about this, Mr. Gaspar, will you give us permission or whatever you're looking for to come out and assess it, like Wayne and I to come out, meet with you and assess it?
That's what I expected.
He's the engineer, and I'm gonna trust his, but like, I'll come along and we'll all sit, like 3 men, and look at it and, try to come to some kind of.
Is it any big deal for Jeff to pull the guardrail?
If there is no ditch, there's no reason for guardrail.
Right.
Yeah.
And the guardrail, it wasn't done to scale as well. Like, there's no mention of a guardrail either in the whole agreement. You're not gonna find the word guardrail, you're not gonna find the word perpetual, like you think the beast in plate is perpetual. And I'm not talking about where you'll see it, I have it staked and strung, you'll see where, I mean, it literally is just about right in the middle of that ditch where it's my right of way, okay, to get to the road. I know that gets misconstrued, but that's my right of way to get to the road. I understand the township owns it, but it's not the back, it's not the opposite. Okay?
Well, again,
I mean, I can literally see guide rail on this map, so I disagree, but I mean, I think.
You see one, you
we
see
don't
little
need to-
dots in a line?
Yeah,
look, the point is,
Well, I'm talking the word.
we can agree to disagree on the legal document, but to
Right.
me, that might be a superfluous fight. If you
Yeah,
don't really
it's
need it,
gonna be taken care of, I agree.
Which we're not definitively saying that, but it sounds like we understand the issue. So why don't you and the mayor and Wayne or whatever, between now and next meeting, we can take a look at it.
Yeah, that's fine.
And what I would suggest you do is do some type of formalized vacation of easement and record a record, and that cleans up the title.
Yeah,
I guess Jeff, then.
Leave me your contact information before you leave.
okay.
Yeah, you can do it that way. Take a look and see.
All right.
All right, any other public comments this evening? Seeing none, we already had our executive session. Anything else we need to discuss tonight?
Oh, just a
Good of the
minute,
whole?
1 minute. Kevin, I just happened to remember, I had an email from Kelly Osuch at
yep.
ELP, that I had you review that maintenance agreement for the sports fields project. And they're asking, is that now okay to release it? Like, who makes that determination? Like, are we accepting that maintenance bond and
Yeah,
paying the 10% retainer? Like, what action, do we have to take any
They just
action?
have to post it, it's in the contract already.
All right, we have the maintenance bond, so
Yes.
then,
If you have the bond and there's no other outstanding issues and they've inspected it as the, designer who.
Oh, you're talking about the performance bond?
no, it says
I know, but
maintenance
we got
bond?
Maintenance bond, do we have to release something else, so they post performance guarantees?
As long as I don't know.
If you're saying
but
they're done,
If the township has all the guarantees that were promised in the contracts, then I don't see why not.
How do I know if we do or not?
well, that's the
That
other
sounds like
engineer,
something
right?
for our new business administrator.
No, we can just check with there was a different engineer who did that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Just check with him, make sure we have everything, and if there's any performance guarantees we need to release, we can release them next month.
okay,
Yeah.
okay,
We
thanks.
don't have to formally accept the maintenance bond.
That's what, we never did before, but I didn't know if I had
It was
to,
in the file.
yeah, I'm sorry, it just
I
came to
approved
me
the
in my
form,
head.
Wayne approved the amount.
Yeah, that's
So
fine.
I'll just make sure there's nothing else with it.
Okay.
Engineer, and then we can release any performance guarantees.
Okay,
Yeah.
All right, if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move we adjourn.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.